Hi, everybody. Welcome to Fuel Radio, or really just conversations with Rod and Terry. It's great to visit with my friend Terry today, and yeah, we've been getting to know each other for a little while now, and I wanted to just start. I wanted to touch base with some friends during COVID-19. I have a real heart for local business, and Terry's sort of a local business. He's local and international. He kind of does both, but and has clients all over the world. But yeah, welcome to this conversation, Terry.
Thank you, Rod. It's always great to be here in Vancouver. And yeah, it's a beautiful day. I'm excited to chat and let's get into it.
Yeah. So I'm just wondering where you're at. Like I've been, as you know, I follow you quite closely and we have many conversations, and it seemed like towards the end of last year and the beginning of this year, you had a lot of momentum in one direction. And I'm wondering how, with all that's going on in the world, how that has affected that momentum. So rather than me explaining where you're at, why don't you tell us where you were at? And then I know you don't like two-part questions. Here I am asking you a two-part question. Let's just start with where were you at? Where were you heading?
Great question. I mean, coming into fall and even early into this year, we were really excited about our sailboat coaching trips and ramping up to do more executive team building, continue on with personal growth trips, but really shifting our energy into executive team building and having some exciting companies that we're talking to get out on the boat and have them experience what we have to offer to do the sailboat coaching executive team building program. And now that everybody's kind of in self-isolation, voluntary or otherwise, and there's a travel ban, that has all come to a pause. And I guess what you'd like to know is, well, why don't you ask me what you would like to know?
So that's all come to a pause. And yeah, what did you have to, a word that's out there quite a bit is pivot. Do you feel like you had to change direction or concentrate on other things? I will just say, I think from our conversations, I know that you are focusing on some different things, but why don't you tell us about that?
Okay. Yeah, I mean, definitely we've had to postpone and reschedule our sailboat coaching dreams and plans for now. And that comes with its personal challenges because it's exciting work and it's one thing that we would love to be doing right now. But definitely a rescheduling and not a canceling.
Right.
And then I think the more direct part of the question that you asked is, what are we doing now? What does the pivot look like?
Mm-hmm.
And certainly we're carrying on with one-on-one coaching. I'm able to do personal custom coaching via Zoom and other video or audio mediums.
Yeah.
And so coaching is still happening. It's only the sailboat coaching part that has been on pause.
Right, right. And it kind of seems like, this is a generalist statement, but it seems like everyone sort of has an opinion about what's going on. Like, what are some of your views on what's happening out there right now?
Great question. Yeah, I mean, I feel like exciting things are happening, and I feel like I'm part of history for the first time in my life.
Yeah.
I feel like 10 years, 20 years from now, people are going to ask us, what did you do? Where were you at? How did you show up during that time? And it's exciting. It's people are getting creative. People are getting, they're unlocking their imaginations. And as somebody who coaches individuals, as somebody who coaches people who are in a creative space, I'm getting phone calls from people who are going, well, I've been doing this job my whole life and I actually didn't love it. I'm not missing my job right now. What happens if I just don't go back to it? What if I become a musician or something like that? What if I follow this dream that I've always had? What would that look like?
Yeah, isn't that interesting? I think from a coaching and an individual personal perspective, I'm hearing that too. I have a family member, that person will remain unnamed, and I can see them definitely pursuing their passion and almost because they're, our government has been so generous. they they're able to support themselves and actually spend full time on their passion, which I think is what a wonderful opportunity. I think a lot of people, that's always the desire in the kind of in the backs of their hearts, the backs of their minds. And now this person is getting to do that. And I think that's happening in some situations. I know the encouragement out there in the ether waves has been take a course and do those things that you've been passionate about. My partner, Kathleen, has been doing it kind of differently, although she's looking into some things as well that are her passion, but she's been doing that. And then also, I think another good coaching bit of advice is that she's taking care of some of those niggly things that have just sort of sat in the drawer for a long time or in the file cabinet, So I think, not without guilt, but it is a good time to do some of those things. I don't want to, well, for me, it's kind of in business as usual, but for some people, I think, who are maybe getting some money from the government or whatever, then why not focus on those things that they're passionate about? What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, coming back to the earlier part of your question, I believe that people want two big things. They want to add value, and they want to add value through something they're passionate about.
Yeah.
And I feel like now's a great time to practice.
Yeah.
Right? If you're not taking time away from your day job, if you're in a place where you don't have an income anyway, or you do have an income anyway, this is a great time to practice. This is a great time to explore and really figure out what is it that you want to do and who do you want to show up as in this life. I think people are realizing that what they thought were gold-plated jobs were going to take care of them forever are maybe less certain. And so they're embracing the uncertainty of the entrepreneurial life or opening up to a new venture.
Yeah. I wonder if you as a coach have a wonderful opportunity, because maybe there's people listening to this right now and going, well, that's great for people who already know what their passion is and what to focus on. Like for me, I think one of the wonderful benefits of coaching is clarity, is going into having a coach and having them ask the questions that help you to get clear. And I think from what I know of you, that also is one of your passions and gifts, isn't it?
I love being clear. I love getting curious and finding out what clarity looks like for me, what it looks like for my clients, for the people on my team. And I don't know that it's true that it's easy for me just because I'm a coach. I think that giving up on sailboat coaching for right now has been difficult for me. It's not what I wanted. I had a different plan. And
like I say, you had some momentum, some real good momentum in that direction. Yeah.
Yes, and that plan got changed.
Yeah.
And yes, I'm optimistic for the future. And yes, I work to have a positive attitude, but I do struggle with that it changed and I didn't want it to. And so I guess the lesson that I'm working through myself right now is switching back and forth between growth and rest. I hear a lot about growth online and from people, and increasingly, I'm hearing more about rest from people. And I feel like for me and for a lot of people out there, the answer is both.
Wow. I almost want to cry, Terry. Like, can we go down that vein a little bit?
Let's go down it. Okay.
So tell me, like, rest has been something that has been sort of the universe has been talking to me about too, as well, So tell me more about what that might look like for you and maybe some advice that you might have for people. Growth and rest. I love that. So how does that, in your mind, how does that work?
Well, I guess it looks like a lot of things. One of the ways that I grow is by stretching my mind in reading. And I've been reading Conscious Loving lately.
Wow.
And they actually touch on the topic of growth and rest. And I'm exploring what it looks like for me. But one thing, and thinking about this now before I say it, I'm realizing that I have shifted meditation from being sort of something that I loosely practice to something that's an active habit. Because I have the time and the availability to do that now. And I feel like that's growth and rest. But I guess another thing that rest can look like is just walking down to the water. We're very fortunate here in Vancouver to be near the ocean, and there are times of day when it's not traffic intensive, and I can socially isolate by the water, and that is extremely soothing to my soul, and it brings me into a place of focus and clarity. And then I can shift back into office mode and go, well, let's crank out some ideas for sailboat coaching. Let's write a book. Let's reach out to some friends and see how they're doing. There's plenty of opportunities to do both. And I guess in having a lot of flexibility and freedom to choose, I'm learning that balance better for myself.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me what it's like for you. I know that you like to be the interviewer, but I'm curious, Rod. What do you like to share?
Let's have a discussion, because I do have something on my mind. I love what you said about meditation being both growth and rest. That intrigues me. And I find that, like, if I can go out and hike or walk for about 45 minutes, the first 45 minutes is just letting go. It's just trying to be present and just let go. And I tend to even wake up with, I feel like I wake up and my mind's been going all night. And I actually wake up feeling like I need to let go and get into a more centered mode that sets me up for the day. Right. And so it's both. And then eventually, maybe sometimes early, it's not always 45 minutes, but sometime along the way, I'll have some sort of an insight. It might be like this morning, I was thinking about you and our conversation today. I had some insight into what we would talk about today and how to handle that. And so things like that will pop up, or then it might be more significant things. Like, I feel like the universe is telling me to be here now, like to be more present, or so I could go on and on about that. I have kind of a developing theory about just sort of living at rest instead of living a driven, sort of addictive life, which I've been trying to discover and move away from, almost all of my life.
Now you're just speaking my language.
Yeah. Hey, Terry, here's a question for you. Well, I want to hear what you have to say, but here's a question as well. Is I would think that when you're out on the sailboat, it's both and as well, that it's growth and rest. Like there's a very peaceful part of it that's very restful, and getting away, like we've talked about this before, getting away from all of your devices. But at the same time being challenged a little bit. So it's both and, I bet, on the sailboat.
Yeah, it absolutely is. I mean, the sailboat is a place of tremendous growth. Feedback loops are short, and so you really see who you are and how you show up as part of a team. Mm-hmm. And just being out on the water and being in a beautiful setting and being able to swim off the back of the boat and sink into brilliant conversation with a group of like-minded people. It's really wonderful.
Yeah. And prior to that, the question, you seemed like you were going somewhere.
Oh, yeah. I mean, just listening to what you were saying, Rod, about growth and rest brought me into, and this maybe is a bit of a soapbox for me, but the difference between effectiveness and efficiency. Mm. And just to umbrella this, I feel like the industrial economy is dying. Mm. It started dying in 1974, and I feel like in a lot of ways we are putting the final nails in that coffin this month.
Yeah.
Because people are forced to not work in that economy. They're finding new ways to work and present value and connect and be meaningful. Mm-hmm. And one of the strongest values of the industrial economy was efficiency. Mm-hmm. Right? It's about being efficient. It's about being cranking productive, the most amount of widgets or building cars faster. Mm-hmm. And in some ways, I feel like that took us out of our humanity and our relationality.
Yeah, no kidding.
And what we are getting a chance to do now is sink into our humanity and our relationality and concentrate on what makes us effective. Mm-hmm. And I was hearing that in your story, right? When you're at rest, mm-hmm. you're thinking about the things that are most important. You are concentrating on the epiphany that is going to unlock your day.
Right. And the epiphanies are often about effectiveness. They're not about efficiency at all. They help me to have a more effective life, to use that we could use other words for it, but to stick
Mhm.
to your phraseology. Yeah. Yeah.
And when you're a foot soldier, efficiency might be a little bit important to you.
Yeah.
When you're a CEO or a team leader or a captain of a boat,
Hmm.
effectiveness is your job,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? For the visionaries, for the leaders, for the entrepreneurs, it's effectiveness. That's what matters.
Hmm. I would imagine, like you do team building trips as well. I would imagine that on the team building trips, it's more about effective. It's finding where people are the most effective on a team, isn't it? That's kind of what team building is all about as well. So making sure people are doing the most effective jobs that they can do that match their purpose, personality, skills, and all that sort of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, to some degree, team building is that it is putting people in the role that they're best suited for with their hard skills, their sailing ability, their spatial awareness. We definitely focus more on soft skills, though.
Mm.
Uh, I am tremendously interested in people's attitude and their communication and their teamwork.
Right. Right.
In fact, our executive team building curriculum focuses around attitude, communication, and teamwork,
Hmm.
which uh, is simple to remember because it spells act.
Right.
Uh, and skills is actually the S at the bottom.
Mm.
Hard skills. Am I a good sailor?
Hmm.
Can I tie the right knots? It's important. It's just not as important as attitude, communication, and teamwork.
Right. Yeah. So it's a piece of the puzzle, but there's three other things that we need to remember. And we probably I would imagine a lot of times in a business or whatever, we're focused so much on skills and doing the job right rather than on the quote unquote soft skills. Yeah. Great. Good. We, just to go back to one-on-one coaching
Yeah.
again, um, where like during a period of time like this, how do you how would a coaching session be effective? Like how can you help people, do you think, right now?
Well, I think coaching is so personal, and of course, I can't. Everything that happens in our coaching sessions is confidential, and so um,
It depends on the
but
person and what they're going through.
well,
And
it does depend on the person, but I can give you some examples that fit with groups of people rather than a specific person.
sure, that's a horribly general question, but yeah.
Well, it's a question that I feel like it has a meaningful answer.
Hmm.
Uh, One of the ways that coaching can be effective is to take people into their vision.
Hmm.
And I feel like a lot of people, at least my people right now, are asking the question, what was my life before this? And what would I like it to be after?
Hmm.
How can I start building for the life that I want to have after this?
Yeah.
And that was true when this was working at their job every day. And it's still true
Yeah.
when this is staying home in self isolation.
Yeah. That's a great question. That's the question I think our friend Doug's been asking as well. Like, where start looking forward. What's it going to look like when you
Right.
come out of this? Yeah, or when we come out of this? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like there's a lot of value in being in the present. And that's a reminder for me, too. How can I
Hmm.
be in this moment?
Yeah.
But part of being in this moment is taking the time to design the life that I want to live and creating that future with intentionality and with focus.
Hmm. Yeah. Excellent.
Coaching now can also look like, hey, I'm kind of struggling. I am having
Yeah.
a hard time just being at home, or like I didn't sign up to be a homeschool teacher and now I am.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
People are going through a lot of stuff uh,
Hmm.
where, like me, they had a plan and this wasn't it.
Yeah.
And so, again, for those people, we can help them get clear on their values. I can bring them into a place of groundedness, and coaching reduces stress. Change is
Hmm.
stressful.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's incredibly valuable just to have people to talk to as well. Like there's always that element of it as well. I know it's been really helpful to have my partner here, have Kathleen around just to talk to about things. And along the way too, I think one of the things that's happening, this probably doesn't happen for everyone, but we've had some wonderful conversations and meetings online with family, and we've even had a few parties online with Doug and Heather. We mentioned this the other night. We had wine club, or Doug and I mentioned this on Doug's interview actually.
Okay.
And got quite a response to it. People are like, "Hey, how do we get to play on? How do we get to participate in that one?" So
I'm really loving the way that people are showing up creatively and getting inventive about how we can connect, because we're social creatures.
yeah.
And one of the coaches on my team mentioned that there's a dance party. And so I went to a live Instagram dance party from my own living room, right, in the safety of home. And Emma Stone was there. It was
Wow.
it was a cool experience.
Great. Did you get to dance with her?
Well, sort of dance with her at a distance, I guess.
You could always say, "Yeah, I got to dance with Emma Stone." Or
Me and thousands of other people's, but just me.
You don't need to mention that part of it.
No.
So Terry, if you don't mind, I have a few questions I've been asking everybody. Can we transition to that, or is there some more that you'd like to say about Sailboat Coaching International?
Let's hear your questions, and if there's something important to circle back to it, we'll circle back to it.
Okay. And by the way, I've already put the URL to Sailboat Coaching International in the comments. So, and then I'll go in afterwards and see if it's still there or if I need to add it again. But that's the place to go if you want to find out more about Sailboat Coaching International and what Terry's up to. And I just got to say too, I from getting to know Terry, he's just a coach through and through. he's just a natural coach. He's coaching all the time. And he's one of those people. When I took my coaching training, they asked, do people approach you for coaching? And actually they don't approach me all that much for coaching, but I'm sure they do you. I've seen you in a number of different settings, and you always turn into a coach. So
yeah, some of us can't help ourselves.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I could say more about that, but I'll drop it. So, I have 3 questions. I'll ask them one at a time. And I was asked this the other day, and I've followed up with it and had a few conversations based on these 3 questions. So, thank you for playing along. The first question is, I'm wondering what you're finding that you have to let go of during this time of self-isolation.
Right. Well, I mean, I guess one of the things that I let go of was all of my plans and my momentum. We had a dream for where Sailboat Coaching was going to be right now and which clients we were going to be having on the boat. And all of that's been delayed. Now, I guess, that's the big one that comes to mind. There will be another one later, I can tell.
And how did that feel? Like, was there a transition in your feelings? Like, I noticed in my feelings about all of this, I've sort of transitioned from being freaked out and scared to I'm finally a little more settled. Have you gone through that with Sailboat Coaching International, what you're feeling about it? Or are you still freaked out? Or have you somewhere in between?
I mean, I think for me, it's grief, letting go of what I thought would be.
Yeah.
And so all of the stages of grief, right? Anger and denial and eventually acceptance.
Yeah.
And just when I think I've done all of the accepting, maybe I circle around back and I go through another round of anger or denial. But I feel like I'm in a good place with it now, and I've got other projects that are occupying my focus.
Mm-hmm.
Does that answer your question? Yeah,
for sure. Are you in any way sort of like in a waiting period? Is there something that you just wait? Like, what did someone ask on Sunday, which was just yesterday? They said, when this is all over with, what are you most looking forward to?
Right.
That you can't do now, or yeah.
Well, I mean, this one has a Sailboat Coaching answer, which is, of course, we want to get back on the boat and we want to be building teams. That's where our heart and our passion is. Mm-hmm. It has a personal answer too. I haven't touched another human in 40 days. Wow. Not even when somebody gives you your change back.
Yeah.
Right. That all stopped.
That's a big deal. That's a really big deal. I've been in conversations with people who are single, and it's been It's been a real epiphany for me, actually, is that I don't experience that because I do have a partner at home.
Right.
But we need that human physical touch, don't we? Yeah.
Yeah, we are connected beings, and physical touch is definitely one of my love languages.
Mm-hmm.
Quality time is one of my love languages also. So that's valuable because I can have quality time with you at a distance.
Mm-hmm.
That one's a little more doable in our current situation.
Yeah.
I feel like the people who are isolated with a group maybe have an opposite set of problems than I do. Maybe sometimes the person they're isolated with is driving them crazy.
Yeah, that could be for sure. Yeah. Based on all the memes that you see
Right.
about having kids at home and all that sort of thing.
Yes.
I saw one kind of funny, not funny, but it was someone dropping their kids off when school starts and the kids hop out of the car and then who's ever inside the car is just throwing their bags out and then speeds off. Like, see you later.
How to not handle stress.
Yeah, exactly. How not to drop your kids off when this is all over. Yeah. Well, I appreciate going to a personal level on that too, because there are two ways to answer this. There's the business way, and there is answering it personally. What are you waiting for, or having to let go of as well? What kinds of new things have surfaced for you that you feel are giving you life that may not have surfaced if you hadn't had this time off, or this time being the way that it is?
I mean, I feel like there's a lot of things that have come up for me and maybe come to my focus that have been on the back burner or were second priority.
Mm-hmm.
One of which is that I've been doing a little more writing, and I'm tinkering around with ideas for a book that ties together sailing and coaching and the metaphors of sailing that apply to life.
Mm. I love that idea. Yeah.
Thank you. If I can say a little bit about that.
Yeah, go for it. Yeah, please do.
Yesterday, I wrote what I think will be the foreword to the book when it's done, and I'm not very far into it yet. But I realize that one of the powerful metaphors about sailing is that you can't steer a boat that isn't moving.
Mm.
And this is a lesson for me as much as it is for anyone else, because I want things to be figured out. I want to know everything that's going to happen, and I want to have certainty. And especially now, I think people are looking for certainty, and they're not finding it, or they're not finding it in the places that they used to.
Yeah.
But also for me, I feel like it's hard to start until I know how things are going to go and what are the steps I'm going to take between here and there. But I have enough of an idea of where I want to go with the book and what I want to explore that it's the time to say, let's raise the anchor and let's raise the sails, and let's just start. Yeah.
Good for you. Yeah. Just to stick with your metaphor, like, and I find that with writing anyway. Sometimes it's like, oh, I don't want to write. But then amazingly, if you just get going, it's that, there's so many cliches about that, like starting is half done kind of thing. Like if you can just get started, it's amazing what emerges sometimes.
Yeah. I think that there's a lot of power in a lot of areas of life in starting. And I'm finding with writing, that's definitely, writing's a big area.
Yeah.
I don't think that I'm the only one who has the writing procrastination thing.
Yeah, for sure. So
if Stephen King and Stephen Pressfield can fight it, then us little guys can too.
Exactly. Do you have any other sailing sort of metaphors that you're pondering that might be in the book, or you're going to tease out eventually?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of metaphors. I should have thought of one in advance to pull it out from all of the others.
Yeah. You can't steer a boat that's not moving or doesn't, right? Like that's one. That's the first one.
That's step one. Get the boat moving, and once it's moving, now you can refine it, right? I guess as it relates to team building, tacking is a big deal. To get upwind, you have to change angles of the boat. You can't sail directly against the wind. And so as you're angling one way and then switching to the other angle to slowly zigzag upwind,
Mm.
You have to do attack, which is getting the whole boat and the whole team to turn 90 degrees more or less.
Yeah.
And that is a project that requires timing, it requires communication, it requires teamwork.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people are attacking in business now. Attacking would be another word for pivoting, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Something happened, and plot twist, it's not what we thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
And so, in those moments, how do you communicate to your team, we're going to do something different, and it's happening kind of right now. Can you be ready?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so I can see how ACT would really apply to that. Like,
Yes.
you got to have it. You got to kind of let go of what was what you were doing in the past. You got to communicate what the changes are going to be. And T is teach, right? Is T
Teamwork.
teamwork? Okay, yeah. So everybody's got to be aware, yeah, of what's going on, and be willing to participate and help out. Yeah, yeah, excellent, good. Well, that answers my 3 questions, and I just
Do you
want
want
to make
another sailing
sure.
metaphor?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, if you've got one, for sure.
Okay. Um, there's I've been thinking a lot and seeing stuff about storms lately.
Mm.
And there's even a quote which I wish I had in front of me right now, but it talks about how you never learn anything in the calm seas of life.
Mm.
When life isn't pushing you, when it isn't challenging you, uh, you don't grow.
Yeah.
And I think it's good to get out in areas of life that push you, whether it's trying a new sport or making a new friend or wherever the area is that you choose to grow now. I think that that's healthy. Um, Having said that, getting into too big of a storm might not be your best call either.
Yeah.
Right. And so there's a certain amount of decision making in planning a passage on a boat. Going,
Mm-hmm.
is this going to challenge us the right amount?
Yeah.
Uh, and certainly, if your ship of life stays in the harbor all of the time, you'll never learn anything. But if you go out and crash into the rocks, that will also shorten the amount of time that you have to do your learning. And so I feel like in sailing and in life, you want to kind of find that middle and be realistic about where am I at today? Am
Mm-hmm.
I up for these challenges? Should I spend some time in harbor recovering before I go out again? And
Yeah.
to me, that brings us back to growth,
Yeah.
rest, growth, rest, and that just beautiful rhythm.
Yeah. Yeah. And it might be too dangerous. It's making me think. I used to teach sailing at camp every summer, and I'm thinking of one particular day where it was just stormy like crazy out there. So we decided to go out, and it was just chaos. Like it was just too windy. The boats couldn't handle it. I managed to go out and just keep my sails real loose and make it back in to the safe harbor. But we shouldn't even have really gone out in the first place.
Right.
Yeah. It's just too much. Yeah.
Yeah. So decision making is important.
Yeah. And then there was another day, I'll never forget it. Like one summer I made a pact with a friend of mine at camp that we would sail every day for the whole summer. And so
Okay.
we would even come back in on our days off. So it wasn't super windy this one day, but it was windy enough that we could get our catamarans up on one pontoon.
Okay.
And so
those are good days.
So for like a whole hour or 2 hours, both of us were just going back and forth across the lake on one pontoon and just flying. Like it was perfect. It was one of those days where it wasn't too much wind and it wasn't too little wind. It was great. Yeah, it was a good day. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's where you want to be in life. And also, I guess as a leader, have awareness of your team, right?
Mm.
What might be a great adventure for one team might be too crazy for the next.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I'm taking people out on the boat, I make sure that I'm not pushing them beyond their abilities. I make sure that they have room to grow, but also they're close enough to their comfort zone that they're not terrified. We don't learn well when we're terrified.
Right. You
When
get
we're
into a whole
frozen.
nother mode, right? Fight or flight. And yeah.
And I think that's important for leaders in family and in relationships and in business to remember also.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah. Excellent. Well, Terry, it's good to spend time with you as always. And like I said earlier, if people want to find out more about you and your one-on-one coaching, which you seem to be focusing on right now, they can go to sailboatcoachinginternational.com. That's the right URL, right?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, good stuff.
And thank you for putting that out there, Rod.
Oh, you're welcome.
And I always love chatting with you. You know this.
We have good talks.
We have great talks.
We have lots of practice. We talk sometimes for half an hour, 45 minutes, just because, or we often have a purpose, but our purposeful conversations often end up being quite a bit longer as well. So
I love it.
Me too. Take care.
Take care, Rod. Thank you.